Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Jew Godfather back at it again with another episode of the Kosher Nostra Podcast. Hope you're all looking forward to it. So last week we talked about Nazis who escaped to the USSR, and we also talked about Operation Osoviokim. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Now we're going to be getting into another episode talking about countries that helped Nazis escape. So let's get into that, shall we? Well, alright, so let's start with Nazis that escaped to the UK or United Kingdom. Now, of course, you're all wondering how this happened and what exactly happened. Well, I'm glad you asked those questions and I'd be glad to answer them. Well, we can start with Edward VIII, or Duke of Windsor, who was king until 1936 when he renounced the throne. Edward VIII was also a Nazi collaborator and Nazi sympathizer who met with Adolf Hitler in 1937. He was also the uncle of Queen Elizabeth II, and the royal family attempted to cover up Edward VIII's history with the Nazis. Also, it is worth mentioning that during World War II, there was a division made up of British prisoners of war who became Nazi collaborators who fought for Hitler in the Waffen-SS, known as the British Free Corps, which consisted of 40 to 50 soldiers. They would also spread various propaganda, as well as I'm sure you can all see on the screen with the various propaganda posters. Also, one of the English Nazis of this division, Eric Pleasance, who would go on to write the book Hitler's Bastard, which for some stupid reason you can purchase on Amazon. Also, another thing worth mentioning is that after the war, whenever the Cold War was starting, the UK created a program which brought Nazis into the United Kingdom, known as Operation Surgeon, which was similar to North America's Operation Paperclip and the USSR's Operation Osoviokim. Operation Surgeon had a list that targeted 1,500 Nazis, but only 100 were relocated and worked for the UK. Okay, so now that we've discussed all that, we can now move on to the section of this episode where we shall talk about the Nazi that escaped. Alright, so we will now be talking about Anton Gecas. Anton Gecas was a Lithuanian Nazi collaborator, whose real name is, or was, Antanas Gecevicius, who helped kill thousands of Jews in Lithuania, and in 1944 Gecas and other Nazis were captured by U.S. forces. Then he later switched sides and fought with the Free Polish Army, which helped him get into the UK. After the war, he went to Scotland, which is technically a part of the United Kingdom, and even worked with the UK's intelligence service MI6 as an anti-communist informant. His crimes were eventually brought to the public eye, however, he was never extradited or faced charges. And Gecas died in 2001, never facing justice for any of his crimes or for the people he murdered. Okay, so what we have learned is that Nazis escaped to the UK as well after the war, and also even worked for the United Kingdom's government with Operation Surgeon, and we also learned about a Nazi who escaped named Anton Gecas in Scotland. Okay, so Next time we'll be talking about Nazis who escaped to Australia next episode. Also, if you want to learn more, I highly recommend checking out some of these YouTube channels, like at World History, the World History channel, and also Mark Felton Productions. They're pretty good. I'll have those in the description below on the YouTube version of this podcast episode. Anyway, I hope you all have a good night. And also be sure to check out the description if you want to see my sources below. Anyway, I hope you all have a great night. Sei gesund. Bye.